All right, now Israel has finally cut the ribbons on its first embassy in the African nation of Rwanda, nearly 6 decades after first establishing diplomatic ties. And this as part of Israel's continuing push to establish stronger relations across the entire African continent. In fact, the new mission in Kigali is the 11th Israeli embassy in Africa, with Israel now enjoying ties to 41 of the 46 sub-Saharan African nations. And joining us with more is Ambassador Avi Granot, former head of the African division with the Israel Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ambassador, thank you so much for coming in today. It's an honor.
Great pleasure.
All right, so first of all, what do you believe that this embassy opening signifies to the rest of Africa and in terms of Israel's advancement with relations to the African continent?
Africa has been immensely important for Israel since the establishment of the State of Israel. And already it was David Ben-Gurion who put great emphasis on the African continent. And his premise was very simple. Israel is surrounded by enemies, and therefore we have to look at the second circle around Israel. And already during the time of definitely Golda Meir, but also first Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion, we started looking for the possibilities of building bridges with African countries, whether it was Ethiopia as one of the most prominent one, whether it has been any of the other countries, Kenya, Nigeria in the west, Ghana, and so forth and so on. So the first importance is importance of security.
Okay.
To ensure that the countries on the second tier, bordering Israel, are supportive of Israel.
I see.
That was the first and most important premise. Secondly, I think in recent years we see the African continent growing very fast as far as economic development of the societies, development of democracies that are being introduced into the African continent. That offers for the State of Israel immense opportunities. Israel is seeking new markets. Israel is seeking new places where to establish our own capacity.
So, not to come down on Israel, but why are these countries specifically looking to form ties with Israel then? Because as you said, they're growing these economies, they're growing these governments, they're growing in many sorts of ways, and they can essentially, if you could argue that they have their pick of the litter, they could go anywhere with their partnerships. So why Israel? Why not the Arab League? And the other and our enemies, you could call it.
It's a very fair question. Because as a result of 1973, the October War, the Arab world offered its support and help to the African continent, and the African continent has decided as a whole, except very small countries, as a whole to sever relations with Israel. And they were waiting for the Arab world to try and assist them. The end result was disappointment. The Arab world really did not care about Africa.
They didn't follow through with their promises.
They did not follow through any of the promises. They couldn't offer any assistance to the African continent. And in the 80s, the African countries have realized that actually the Arab world was just using them to fight Israel rather than really helping them, assisting them. And then slowly by slowly, they have returned to Israel. Now, interestingly enough, those countries that are moving closer to democratic principles, those countries that are searching for real development are the first to move towards Israel, knowing that Israel can offer them the kind of help and assistance that other countries were not willing to do. Israel, on the one hand, is not part of the Arab world that has disappointed them. On the other hand, is not a colonialist power like Europe, which has prevented them from development. The French, the Belgians, the Germans, the Brits, the Dutch, all of them. And in a sense, now Israel offers them those opportunities of being a Western country, a very fast developed country.
And on equal footing, it sounds like.
And another advantage, very important one. Israel is the only country outside the African continent that is land-linked to Africa.
So in a sense,
for many African countries, Israel is seen as a very much part of Africa because it is land linked to Africa.
All right, well, I cannot wait to see the future of Israeli-African relations and the future of especially this brand new embassy in Kigali. Ambassador, thank you again so much for joining us today.
It's a great pleasure.
And I hope to have you back soon.